Hello. How is everybody doing today? On this Tuesday. It is Tuesday, right? This week has been really weird. Yes, it is Tuesday. Maria, hello. No, you're a star. uh, has anyone this year so far has been very strange. It's January seems to be taking forever, which is fine. I'm not trying to speed through life, any quicker than time goes by. But it's going by really slow, and I don't know what day it is. I don't. It's a bizarre feeling. It does feel like a Monday. The only reason why I now have an idea about time is because I have some English students now. I'm teaching them English here in Mexico, and I have class with them Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and Saturday too. But I'm able to say, okay, today I don't have class, so it's either Tuesday or Thursday or Sunday. But it's nice to have some I don't know, some structure now. I'm happy that we're starting to get back to normal with everything, and people are able to hire me for classes and everything. So, um, yeah, and I'm still trying to get the money together to start the tattoo apprenticeship. But I'm not really rushing into it because I know that it's going to be a long process. It's going to take about a year and a half at least to go through everything. Um, the cat. So once I have the money, then I'll go. There's his tail. We have an extra mattress that we have up against the wall, and he goes up on top of the mattress. So anyway. Oh, let me put on some tunes. All right. So I don't know about anyone else, and if you're watching this after, you can leave a comment. But I am last year, well, during the pandemic, I was watching a bunch of different series and stuff. You know, you just have tons of free time. And one of the ones that I watched was Euphoria. And it was a really bizarre experience because I mean there's things that I love about the series and there's things that that didn't sit right with me. Aesthetically, I really liked it. I like uh the cinematography, that it's very creative. The music is really good. And I thought in the beginning, I don't know about anyone else, but it felt uh like a Tumblr post. Like it kind of had that feel, like very moody with like, dark and lights, but like, I don't know how to describe it. Like very moody and very depressing. And so I watched it and I actually made a video about it if anybody wants to go see that. It's the last video that I made on my channel. But it really put me in a weird place because I know that after leaving my past and leaving religion and leaving that structure, I still maintain some elements of that in my current life now. I don't know if anyone else experienced this, but I feel like I'm not drowning. Like I still have something to. Oh, there's his head. His head. But I feel like like I'm not depressed. I'm not not in that way. Like I don't have any direction in my life. I don't have any tools to try to help myself be, I don't know, find some sort of happiness or some sort of peace. And it also saves me from going down certain roads that I know from my past are not going to make me happy, if that makes any sense. And so that's kind of what's up with this music? Let's just go to music, please. Okay. I don't need any talking. So that has benefited me, and I don't think people who never had that structure, it seems like they don't really have any hope, in the sense of the world right now is not really pushing towards that. It's not really giving any sort of tools to, I'm talking about outside of religion. It's not really giving any tools that are sustainable in order to find deep happiness. All of the everything that's pushed is focusing on the moment, being happy now. Like it's almost like you're fighting, like trying to go up to be happy, and the second that there's some discomfort, some things that happen every day, like you're, instead of just accepting that discomfort, it's no, you got to maintain the high, you got to maintain the upward trajectory, and that's kind of what people go for. I don't know, that's my assessment, just looking around. And especially in the show, it seemed like all of the characters, and they're supposed to be young in high school, which was another weird thing because they had nudity and different things like that. And I was like, okay, I know the actors aren't young, but it's still kind of weird that they're portraying teenagers in this way, even though I'm sure all this stuff happens and, you know, all the sex scenes and all of that. Okay. But that doesn't mean that it has to be portrayed. But I don't know, it's HBO, right? So they have to be like that. But all of them, they just like walk around and they're like lost. They're all just lost. There's no, one of the characters talks about going on to college to pursue her dreams of, I think it's some like fashion or something like that, but it's like they're kind of just like stuck and they don't know how to move forward. They don't know how to overcome obstacles in their life or even to confront them within themselves. Things that are happening, it's, you know, and they turn to sex, to drugs, to drinking. Like every other scene in the show is a party of some sort where they make mistakes and they're sleeping with this person, and it's like they have no principles. They're like, oh, this is the boyfriend of my best friend, but I'm gonna sleep with them, and then I'm gonna, and then and it's just over and over and over again, and it doesn't make sense. I don't know. Anyway, so reflecting on what I thought before in my past about happiness. If anyone who was a Catholic or from like a very conservative, traditional minded religious background, like what were you taught was happiness? What to expect in this life, and what was true, stable happiness? Euphoria definitely seems depressing. That's probably why I haven't watched it yet. I guess it's good because it highlights how hedonism isn't a sustainable or functional philosophy. But you know what's interesting? And this is why I kind of related it to Tumblr. It's because it's, I mean, if you're looking at it objectively, you realize that it's not sustainable or functional. Like, it doesn't work. These people are not really happy. But the show does, it has a way of romanticizing that way of life, where you're like I thought a few times, like, I never had those experiences. I never went to a party and just like kind of, I never had, you know, whatever it was. But it does have that like appealing factor. Like it's almost like it's the best that we have. If you take that type of philosophical stance, that position, which they take, but it's not because they chose to, it's kind of all they have, because they realize that, you know, life is difficult, it's hard, there's no way of really coming out of it. They can't see the potential within themselves to do that. And why not just party? Why not just have fun? Enjoy today because we'll die tomorrow. Eat, drink, and be merry because tomorrow we shall die. You know. But it does make it like kind of like ethereal, like oh, it's like all the lights, the blur, the camera blur, and I don't know. It's, you have to see, even if you watch the trailer, it kind of like gives you this weird feeling when you watch it, which I enjoyed. I enjoyed that aspect of it, the aesthetical aspect. But like, I'm not a a child who's watching it, and it's not appealing to me on that level where I'm gonna go imitate it or anything like that. The aesthetics in the show is amazing. I guess it's a great way to package the story. Very Palace of Versailles. Yeah. It's But you know what's it another thing that's interesting is that you don't really it romanticizes it, but it's still depressing. It's still, the main character is still a drug user, and they still have problems, and they're losing their friendships and their relationships and their family, and they're losing their direction. You don't look at it as appealing in that way. At least I didn't. You sympathize with them, and you see how horrible their situations are, but they give all the characters a backstory, enough of a backstory where you realize where they're coming from, and then you're like, oh, okay, that makes sense. But then you think, wait a second, but that doesn't justify what they're doing now. But you can kind of you can empathize with them. You can put yourself in their shoes and say, oh, okay, that makes sense. That makes more sense, but it doesn't justify it. So one of the big things that I took out of my education in Catholicism was basically life here on earth is not going to be pleasant. Don't expect it to be pleasant. If you're happy, you're happy. Thank God that you're happy in the moment, but the real the moments that really how do I say this? It's the happy moments are like, oh, okay, that's great, thank you. But the real I'm trying to think of the word. What really counts is the suffering, and to focus on the suffering, because that's where merit comes from, how you suffer. Because ultimately, from my perspective before, this world is not meant to be pleasant. It's meant to be a valley of tears. It's meant to be a place of suffering. And the only way that suffering makes sense is that by suffering with faith, we gain merit in order to go to heaven, which is the ultimate happiness, where there is no suffering, and you're in a stable state of happiness that's never going to go away. And when I was learning about happiness, even from the pagan philosophers, that ideal of a stable state is what we all as humans are looking for. Like, it's not sufficient that we have moments of happiness that vanish, but that we are in a state where it's constant happiness. So I don't know about anyone else. This is a thought that I had. I don't know now what to think about all of that, because in my head I still have those ideas. I still have that perception, because it's obvious that we suffer. It's obvious that there's pain in the world, and rather pointless pain that we didn't cause and that doesn't really have a function. And of course, that's a subject that many people have observed, many philosophers trying to understand it and everything. So I'm in a position now where I can say there isn't anything more to life. There's never going to be that stable state of happiness. Happiness is only going to be those moments of happiness, or something more fundamental, like a peace inside that remains even when there's chaos outside. So maybe that's more of a realistic approach to happiness. Or I can just, say that it's all pointless, and, I shouldn't even be reaching for that, because that's never that's not a fulfilling, that's not a goal that is reasonable, and that we should just, do what you can, but just enjoy the happy moments as they come. Seek out those moments where you feel the most happy. Try to avoid pain, avoid suffering, because we'll die tomorrow. So I told my Baptist friend that I was taught to accept suffering as a part of my life because Jesus suffered for me. She was creeped out. I haven't really seen, if we're going to talk about philosophical understandings of the world, the Catholic perspective, I mean, you have to believe, you have to have that fundamental building block. If you don't have that, nothing makes sense. But if you believe in God, if you have that much, maybe not associated with any sort of religion or anything, but if you at least have that, taking the next step to understand the world and the connection of the world and our human life with God, I haven't seen anything that really makes as much sense than the Catholic perspective. And it's not that I studied a lot in school and, in apologetics or at the seminary, obviously for the purpose of seeing how wrong they were. So maybe I have a bias, but it just seems more logical. And it's the one that really does give a certain meaning to life and everything. And I mean, and it caused people in the past to do amazing things that are beyond the normal capacity of anyone to really do, unless you believe. Like the stories of there's certain people that died, priests and religious that died in Japan, and in, what was the other place that I was reading about? I think it was the stories that I'm thinking about are from Japan. So when the missionaries went to Japan and they were tortured and killed, and the way that they, like, it seemed like, from my perspective then and even now, that they were in such a state of peace because they thought that, from their beliefs, that they were they were ordered within themselves. They were okay. If they died without denying God, then they would be able to go to heaven. They would be worthy of going to heaven, but obviously with the I mean, they wouldn't say that it was them who suffered, who was able to suffer through all of the tortures and everything, which were horrible. They would say that it was God who was helping them. But yeah, you see people do amazing things like that, and it's incredible. It's like, it has to mean something. It has to be something. It has some effect on people and their lives, and to be in that state of peace is, for me, that would be the goal. that would be something that would mean more to me than anything else. Like all the things that people value now that are happiness are very superficial, are very, I mean, who cares? Like if I never have enough money to, I don't know, whatever the thing is, whatever the material thing is, like I don't care. Like what makes me happy right now is when I'm able to go to the store and buy vegetables and, you know, make dinner, like just very simple things. Obviously that's not exactly what I'm talking about. It's part of it, but I don't know. And I realized right away that like any sort of, like anyone who really puts themselves out there to become famous or to seek honor or anything like that, that I realized early that was something that just comes and goes, and it doesn't really mean anything. And then you see all of the actors and the comedians and everything who, you know, they end up taking their own lives, and it's like, okay, people need to realize that that's not a reasonable goal. I've learned that I can't force happiness, but I can still live with purpose and be able to live with myself. Peace is just as important as joy. Yeah, you obviously can't force the feeling. Like, what feelings can we really force? And I think that's the crux. People now seek for the feeling, the emotion of happiness, but they don't realize that living on the level of just pure feeling is not sustainable at all. Because if you're just living there, it's going to go up and down, sometimes in one day, up, down, up, down, up, down. And it's that, like you said, the purpose, having a purpose in life. And because because of my education from before, and I'm sure yours too, it's like when I hear something like purpose and people say, you know, you got to find purpose in life. I'm like, okay, so get a job. And for a lot of people, that's what it is. Get a job, get a family, and my head goes a step further. Why go for that? Why get a job? Because I need money. Why do I need money? Because it's necessary to live. And it's like you keep going down, and sometimes that can get really dark. Luckily, that's not completely where my mind goes. But like the way that people live nowadays, it seems like they're not, like they're kind of just fitting into a system that was already in place and expectations that were already in place, and they just kind of go down that road without really understanding what they're doing or why they're doing it, whether it's religious or secular or anything like that. It's just kind of following the momentum, and I think that's why a lot of people have that crisis. You know, once you've been working for a while, you have all the things that are supposed to make you happy. I'm supposed to be happy. I have now all those things that, you know, society or my family told me that this would be happiness. And it's like, oh no, there's more. It's not just that. There's a lot more. And I don't know. So I was looking online, and there's a website called Happier, and they have an article called 25 Ways to Feel Happier in the Next 5 Minutes. "25 ways to feel happier in the next 5 minutes." So if anyone's feeling bad, If anyone is unhappy, we're going to find out how to feel happy. But it's only going to take 5 minutes. If it takes any longer, you're not doing it right. Happiness is a now thing. Don't wait until later to be happy. I really want to do a video about this whole like mental health type of fad that's going around on Instagram, especially Facebook, where it's like they put all these posts out and it's like you're meant to look at it and be like, yeah. But you think about it and it's like, wait a second, this doesn't make any sense. Or this isn't true. It's for your mental health. Happiness is a now thing. Sorry. So, crank the tunes. Number 1, try not smiling while blasting your fave feel-good song. Number 2, write it down. Did you know that taking the time to write down 3 positive things each day will make you more optimistic and less stressed? It seems like these are tips for like people where their happiness is dying because they've reached the high and now the high is coming down, and then they're like, no, I've got to remain high. I got to keep this up. I got to push it up, I got to hold it up. Oh, I'm listening to happy music. I'm going to be happy now. Ha ha ha. You know, this isn't it. This isn't happiness. Get outside. That's true. When I feel depressed or like just anxious or anything like that, getting outside, getting some sun, that is a good thing. Walk it out. And that's what I do when I go outside. I walk. I also pace. Does anyone else pace? When I'm on the phone or when I'm reading something or when I'm feeling anxious, I naturally like have to move around. Sometimes I'm cleaning, sometimes like I'm just moving, got to do this, got to do that. Make a statement. Oh, make a statement, like fashion statement with your accessories. Put on your happy face necklace. That'll make you happy. Oh, a bold statement necklace, your too cool for school shades, or your favorite kicks can be all you need to turn a blah day around. Now I see, like, they're talking about, like, if you just feel a little down, like, you can do these types of things to help you out. But none of these things are going to make you happy. Give yourself a boost of healthy nutrients. Leave a note. Make someone's day by leaving a "you're beautiful" note on the bathroom mirror. And then some guy's writing it in the office mirror. You're beautiful. Do something. Yes. So it sounds like these are just for, like, these are helpful tips when you're feeling down. "25 ways to feel happier." All these words mean something to me. Like, when someone says happy, I'm like, what do you mean? Do you mean happy like you feel good? Or happy like you've done everything and you feel content? Or do you mean that you have this inner peace within you? Like, what do you mean by happy? Say thank you. So gratitude. Learn something new. Be a good listener. Okay? Let it go. You can boost your happiness by detaching. It just seems like, I don't know. All these like self-help type of things are funny. What is more interesting to me is the "Are You Happy" quiz from Oprah. Okay, so first I should have taken the quiz to know if I'm happy. And then if I'm not, then I should follow the tips to be happier. Are you happy? It might seem a little, shall we say, mood ring era. Did anybody have mood rings? I did not. Some of my friends had mood rings. I was never. To suggest taking a happiness quiz. Many people, however, are so used to being unhappy that they barely notice it. It's almost like if you're unhappy, turn yourself around, sister. Like there's something wrong with your perspective on life. They don't realize that some people just have, like, they're just not happy. They're feeling down. Like life isn't like, we have to be happy all the time. I have to put on my favorite music to be happy. You know, we have some bad days. We have some bad months or years. Sometimes, you know, getting cancer is not fun. Having no money is sometimes not a fun situation. Using the latest research, when did this come out? It doesn't say. Using the latest research, I have devised an emotional checkup based on the theory that happiness develops from a number of internal qualities, including courage, love, humor, altruism, and a sense of freedom and purpose. Courage. This is interesting because as I was talking about in my video, I just briefly covered all of my thoughts in the video on Euphoria. But Aristotle, somebody that I studied quite extensively, he talks about happiness being that state of goodness when you are a virtuous person, when you have worked on yourself and reached a certain potential, when you're good at being a human. And that includes that includes all of those qualities. You have worked on perfecting them through time, and you're kind of in this stable position where you're like the master. So it's interesting that this is saying that happiness develops from a number of internal qualities. So it's not even talking about money, sex, drugs, fame, possessions, material things, you know, eating, whatever the thing is. So, number one, I believe my life, so you can take this with me if you want. Or if you want me to change the subject, just tell me. This is a live. This isn't recorded. So, I won't be offended. I'm here to hang out and chat with you too. Number one, I believe my life will truly begin when the right person or circumstance comes along. Does anyone believe that? I would say, for me, I would say infrequently. Because there is an element to my idea of my future that has, yeah, but it says begin, truly begin. That's not true. I would say never with that. Because I have begun. I'm teaching my English students about the perfect tense and the past perfect tense. I have begun. I had to begun. And they're like, it's hard for them to understand. I would say never. I feel best. I give unconditionally to others. Never infrequently, sometimes frequently. I would say I do. I feel better when I'm doing something for someone else than I'm doing it for myself. I don't know if that's my religious baggage, where I don't want to be proud and selfish. No, I still feel that way. So I would say frequently for me. I think I'm going to be the happiest person ever at the end of this. I think I'm answering all their questions exactly how they want me to. But who knows? When I think about people in my life, I focus on those who have hurt or disappointed me. What about you guys? When I think about people in my life, I focus on those who have hurt or disappointed me. I think I'll say focus. I think I'll say I'm between sometimes. You can't really be in between, but sometimes and infrequently. Wait, sometimes means infrequently, right? Or they can be synonymous. So which one is it? I'll say sometimes. What the heck? When I think about people in my life, I focus on those I care about and love. I would say frequently. I don't know if that negates the other one, but there is not enough time for there is not enough time for taking care of me. There is not enough time for taking care of myself. Who wrote this? I like being altruistic. It feels good to help other people. Yeah, I agree. There is not enough time for taking care of myself. Like you just take care of yourself too much? Like all the time? I don't understand that question. What do you think it means? There's not enough time for taking care of myself. And then the answers are never, infrequently, sometimes, frequently. What, that's my idea? That I have that idea? I would say infrequently. Sometimes I feel like maybe on the days that I'm busy, I don't have enough time to sleep or eat. Is that what it's talking about? Okay. I've helped myself through difficult times with a strong positive attitude. Sometimes it's just pure willpower, pure survival instincts, not a positive attitude. I'm not the most positive person. I don't know if you guys noticed that. If you've watched some of my videos, sometimes I'm not the most positive person in the world. And I'm also getting to the point in my life where for so long I have looked at people and said, I want to be like them. I want to have this characteristic that they have. I want to be like this person and that person. And oh, this person's really positive and they make people feel good when you're around them. I want to be just like them. And I realized that my position, I know that I make my boyfriend feel good, but like sometimes I'm not the happiest person to be around. Sometimes I see the dark side a little bit more. I take myself very, very seriously. I would say frequently for me. But I don't really understand that question. I'm just kind of going with my gut. I believe it's up to me to live my life fully and find meaning. Oh, goodness. I believe it's up to me to live my life fully and find meaning, so I don't depend on other people. I'm in a crisis now. Crisis of purpose. This isn't a good question. It's triggering. I believe it's up to me. I would say frequently. When things don't go well, I feel trapped, overwhelmed. You know, honestly, I don't know about anyone else. When I don't know what this is. It might be just pure naivete. But whenever I've had a difficult time in my life, I always had this optimism, like, things are just going to work out. And I know rationally that that doesn't happen all the time, but I just kind of go into difficult situations or find myself in a difficult situation and think there's a way to get out of this. And sometimes it's not up to me to figure it out. Sometimes I just have to let things play out, and then there's a solution that happens that I didn't plan for, that I didn't see. But I kind of have that perspective when things don't go well. I don't know about anyone else. I will say I feel trapped or overwhelmed. I do have those moments. So I can't say never, but I would say infrequently. Although life's circumstances change, my beliefs and capabilities will allow me to survive and thrive. I would say frequently. I do feel like, even though I don't understand everything, I feel like I have enough of a foundation that whatever comes up, I'm gonna have something, some sort of solution, some sort of way to at least begin that process of change, and then be able to discover new ideas or discover a new path that I don't know right now. But I have the capacity to do that. I don't know if that's just setting me up for the fall, if I'm going to fall on my face one day. Who wouldn't rather receive a gift than give one? I hate receiving gifts. I feel so guilty when I receive a gift. Like, I don't deserve this. Does anyone else feel that way? Like, what did I do? Oh, you got me a gift. Let me get you one. So it says who wouldn't. So I would say frequently, right? Who wouldn't. Because if I say who would rather receive a gift, then I would say never. So it's frequently. The wording of that is kind of weird. There is a spiritual power that I can turn to for comfort whenever I need to. Is there an I don't know answer? Or an I wish? Or yeah. Don't ask me this question answer. Never. Life is a big joke and I'm in the middle of it. No, never. I don't have that type of perspective. I think if you have a strong sense of self, it helps you deal with adversity and dark emotions. What does that mean, a strong sense of self? What do you mean when you say that? A strong sense, like a confidence in your capacity and your beliefs, your principles? Is that what you mean? Because I think that's the case for me. Like, obviously I don't know everything. Obviously I'm figuring things out, but so maybe knowing yourself. Maria, knowing yourself is the beginning of wisdom. I think knowing yourself is really important. I think that's a fundamental step that I don't think a lot of people go through. I really, really think that a lot of people have a... What's up with this music? I'm sorry. I'm gonna try to find something else. Piano mix. Safe copyright-free music. There we go. Oh, for Twitch streamers. Maybe it's not for YouTube streamers. I don't know. We'll find out. What was I saying? Oh, people don't know themselves. Because if you don't know what you're dealing with, how are you going to build upon that? And there's a lot of projection nowadays. I mean, I think there always has been. But people are so easy to condemn and attack other people for things that they are guilty of. Understanding who you are, how you relate to people and situations. Yes. Yeah, but that's like the very first step. That's like the basic part, right? Like understanding yourself and then yourself in context with the world around you. That's fundamental. And then everything else is built upon that. Because I think a lot of people, it's like they're told this will make you happy, or this will, and they don't really see how they relate to that. They just assume that that's just how it is. I remember even like there was a moment in my life when I realized that there was a big picture. Like that you could in your mind see yourself like in a painting, almost like as an element in the full painting and all of reality, and seeing yourself and how you relate in that context and who you really are. And that's a good, I think that helped me maintain that type of perspective, but it also kept me very humble because I wasn't considering that I was the shit. You know what I mean? Excuse my French. But like I wasn't saying like, oh, I'm whatever. Of course I went to the other extreme, but it definitely never put me in a position where I thought or I think now that I'm a great person or anything. Fear, number 14. How many are there? Fear keeps me from standing up for what I believe is right. I think where it counts, I would say never. But in other situations, I'm like, well, I don't want to cause any more problems. And even though I disagree with this, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I've grown emotionally, spiritually through difficult and painful life events. Yes. Some people don't grow. I'm sure that I haven't grown as much as I probably should have. But I definitely, even just having a big picture perspective on life, it gives you some context sometimes. Like even if you can't find the meaning behind a suffering, like this cancer or this sickness in general was given to me so that I can suffer and unite myself to God and then eventually go to heaven. Like even if you don't have that perspective, that purpose to it, you at least know like you can gain very useful perspectives from going through that experience, and it can give you a more profound depth to your perspective. If I don't have enough money or love, then I can't feel secure. Money is not the end all be all, obviously. I think we're all realizing now in this time in history that the value of money is going down, and it's not a stable thing to rest upon. But if you don't have enough money, you can't find any peace, really. Like it takes a really strong person to maintain themselves when they're constantly struggling with money. Very, very strong person can make a very strong person, but feel secure. And it says enough money too. So I would say, if I don't have enough money or love part, I'm like, meh. Even that, we're social. We want human interactions. We want to feel loved. We want to give love. I would say frequently. What the heck? This is just Oprah quiz. Nothing profound here. I make taking care of my health a priority. Yeah, okay, it says frequently. It's not all the time. I'll say frequently. I go out and walk. I am aware when I'm feeling down and I try to counteract that. I try to eat healthier, more healthily. I try not to just sit around all day. People hurt my feelings. Yeah, people hurt my feelings. I'm not really in a position right now. I mean, besides YouTube, but I've kind of distanced myself from reading the comments and really having them boil within me, stew within me. But I am very sensitive in that way. So I'll say sometimes. Life is good. I really appreciate what I have. This is the type of question where I would say, I want to be like that. I want to say life is good. I really appreciate what I have. I should. This is the type of person I want to be. But honestly, I don't really have that thought a lot. I'm happy I'm alive. I appreciate what I have, but it's not really something that comes up a lot, having that thought. I'll say sometimes. I'm unclear about the purpose and meaning of life. This question, I wasn't expecting Oprah to get so deep. Oprah! Poverty and constant violence adversity is definitely dehumanizing. That's why I think education is so important, because it provides the big picture perspective and offers self-improvement. Yes. But not every education. I mean, I think a lot of people have gone through the educational system, and their idea of the big picture is like everything in the perspective of the patriarchy. And they're like, see, now that I have education, I can see that idea in every aspect of history and society, and that has given me the deep perspective. And now I'm a deep thinker because I know this now. And it's like, okay, chill. Take a chill pill. I think that's the right direction to go, at least the right way of forming a perspective, I guess. Like realizing that there's something behind what we're seeing around us, the awareness of bigger topics that affect everyone. I mean, that's a good way to move in that direction, but I still feel like there's not a lot of people that I think you all understand what I'm talking about. But education, yes. Like, just even if you just have that person in your life that's like just blows your mind with one of these topics, you're like, oh my goodness, I never thought of that. I'm unclear about the purpose and meaning of my life. I would say at this very moment, frequently. What matters most is enjoying relationships and moments. What matters most? Enjoying relationships and moments. I mean, that's what they tell you to do. That's how they tell you to think. You just gotta enjoy the little things in life. It's like, okay, I got that, but my brain can't focus on that because I know that, visiting my relative or talking with this person or seeing this person, there's a limit of this, and I'm gonna go back into the rest of my life. Sometimes I'll put sometimes. I just have too much to do. Never think that. I never think that. I feel fulfilled. In what way? This is a huge topic that people I don't think about that much. How do people now consider fulfillment? Like, I've reached this status. I have this amount of money. I've done this amount of things. I have my family. I have that has like it is fulfilling. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that it doesn't give you something, some happiness, but do I feel fulfilled? I think we always want more. And I'm not talking in a selfish way, but there's always room for more within us. It's like no matter how many kids you have, you're never going to lose the amount of love, the capacity of love that you have as a parent. Does that make sense? It's not that, you know, your love is diminished with each person and you only have like, oh, I only got 5% left, so the next kid's only going to get 5%. Sorry, I'm thinking about the Catholic families from my past that had 16 children. I feel fulfilled. I have moments where I feel fulfilled, but I would say infrequently sounds too negative, but sometimes sounds too positive. Sometimes. I'll say sometimes because this is just a stupid quiz. I'm not gonna get a grade. I'm not gonna lose at life. Okay. Below is your score. See just how happy you are. Are you ready to quantify my happiness? I hope you're taking the quiz along with me. Your score, 52. Your smile is your guide. If you scored between 50 and 72, congratulations. Consider yourself a happy person. Guys, I just found out I'm a happy person. Wow. This is great. I can die now. I'm a happy person. Let's celebrate. But I'm barely a happy person. Notice they said between 50 and 72, so I was 50 and 72, and I was just a 52, so I'm just on the edge. Gotta watch out. I want to share something with you. This is it's from a channel on YouTube called Live Happy. And it says, the title is, What is Happiness? Learn how to be happy in life. Wow, that's huge. For me, when I see a title like that, I'm like, this has to be some good stuff. What is happiness? They're going to tell me what happiness is, and they're going to teach me how to be happy in life. Notice how long the video is. 3 minutes and 31 seconds. It's not only going to tell me all of this, but I don't have to waste hours and years of my life toiling over discovery of what it is. And I know I'm a happy person because of the quiz. So let's see what they say. Shall we?
The world are teaching on it. For 30 years, scientists have been studying it. Governments are appointing cabinet positions to oversee it. The United Nations named an official day after it. Google.
There's a happy day? There's an official happiness day? Or is it like happiness awareness? It's like because it's not very common, we have to have a day to um to focus on it.
Google Analytics prove people are searching for it. In fact, it's one of humanity's oldest pursuits. Happiness.
Wow. So they just told us what is happiness? It's something important.
We are wealthier, more educated, and live longer than any previous generation.
We're wealthier, more educated, and we live longer.
And as a nation, the U.S. is one of the wealthiest, most powerful, and technologically advanced. And
Yeah, and we all know Americans are so happy. They're the happiest people in the world.
in the most recent World Happiness Report, the United States ranked 17th.
Oh, wow, a twist. You mean that's not going to give you happiness?
And during the Great Depression,
Wait. This is my path in life is going from um a less happy country into a more happy country, but just one at a time. So I guess after Mexico, I'm going to be going into Panama and then the United Arab Emirates. Oh, New Zealand will be fun. This will be my purpose in life, and then I'll end up in Denmark, I guess. I think that was number one.
and during the Great Depression, when there was little to be happy about, we were actually 18% less depressed than we are now.
These are super interesting facts because I think people would think the opposite. The Great Depression, people would say, oh, of course people were depressed. It was a struggle. Where there's struggle, there's not as much happiness. Isn't that just like a common thing that people think about? Like, oh, those poor tribes in Africa, they're just not happy. They don't have the newest iPhone. They can't go to Starbucks. I'm sure they can go to Starbucks. I'm sure there's a Starbucks, like a village, and there's just a corner with McDonald's and Starbucks. Everything else is like huts or something. Um, but oh, the poor, you know, actually the poor Mexicans, oh, those poor Mexicans, they're not happy.
We have been taught that hard work equals success, which equals happiness.
I'd like to see how these statistics were calculated. How were the people polled? How many, etc. Yeah, I agree. I'm just taking it at face value because I'm a gullible member of the mob and I don't have individual thought process. So I'm just taking it as it comes. And it says, what is happiness? Learn how to be happy in life. So, I mean, I'm guessing the Live Happy channel is the, I mean, if any channel would be the intelligent one, the knowledgeable one about happiness, it's the Live Happy people.
Right?
I agree. I think most people think this way. Hard work, you work hard, you put in a lot of effort, you get successful, and then you're happy.
Wrong.
Wrong, losers.
Research
The Live Happy channel is a little bit condescending. A little bit. They need to tone down the condescension.
proves happiness is actually a precursor to success.
Happiness is a precursor to success. So you have to be happy in order to be successful. In order to work hard to be successful. But why be successful? That's my question. Because my understanding is we do things for something else. We work hard to get money to be happy, or to buy things and then be happy. I mean, that it seems like happiness would be the goal.
Not the other way around. Did you know? Neuroscience proves that we are hardwired to perform at our best when we are happy.
Then why do you put people in cubicles? I'm gonna see if they have any information. Oh no, they don't. They don't have any. So the Live Happy people, the Inspired Life channel, uh, commented on the Live Happy. It's like, um, it'd be like if there was a channel called the Life Channel, and then the Death Channel commented, "This is a very interesting summary of what happiness actually is. Nice, clean animations and clear information." Thank you. So neuroscience says that when you're happy, you do things better.
Studies show that happy, positive, optimistic people earn higher incomes, set and achieve more aggressive goals, experience less stress.
Happier people feel less stress. I want to know what they mean by happiness. They haven't really defined it yet. They said that they would say what happiness is, but so far we're a minute and 30 seconds into the video that's 3 minutes long, and
Remain calm in high-pressure situations, are more energetic, recover from illness faster, and live longer.
I feel like this is just very confused. There's a lot of things coming into here that are like, it's hard for me to connect all of these ideas into it. Like, if you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. No, if you're happy, you're still going to feel stressed at work. Like, happy people, it's like happy people don't feel anything negative at all. Because there are naturally happy people, and life happens. I don't know. I'm just a passive observer, but I'm thinking. This is how I watch videos. I pause it and I'm like, what the heck? And then I watch it again.
Happiness is serious business.
There's the definition. Happiness is serious business. All right, here we go.
We engage in positive, real-life relationships. Our bodies release chemicals that actually help reduce anxiety and increase concentration and focus. How you feel and your attitude toward life all stem from your thoughts, actions, and where you focus your time and energy. Yet we're constantly surrounded by negativity. If we want things to change,
If you want to be happy, get rid of all the negativity in your life. Die? Like, what? I mean, what? We're supposed to be robots? Happy robots? That don't feel anything?
we have to create the change. And we start by choosing positivity and happiness.
I'm sorry for pausing this, but it's like the way that they're presenting this is not logical at all. We're 2 minutes and 15 seconds into a 3 minute and 30-second video about what is happiness and learn how to be happy. And you're really not, you're getting a lot of fluff. Choose positivity and choose happiness. All right, everyone, choose positivity. Choose to be positive. I understand. I'm whispering now. I understand that we do have some things that are in our control. We can control, we can start changing our perspective on things, but some things are just not pleasant, or they're just kind of like not negative or positive. They're just there. Um, and some people are naturally optimistic, and okay, that's good. Some people are just more positive, okay. But it feels very artificial to me. And this is something that I've experienced in my past. When I've tried to change those types of things, it seemed like I was pretending. Like I'm not the person in the group that makes jokes and is funny, and I mean maybe with like close friends, but like I'm not that type of person. I'm not really a Debbie Downer either, but I mean that's just not my personality. I don't know, and it seems like this is all about the feeling, to feel happy.
Just imagine the possibilities if there were more happy and positive people in this world. A world with
In utopia, when we're all in utopia, where everything's perfect, there's no suffering, and everyone's happy.
more peace, optimism, and compassion is possible.
That would be
Like
great.
a pebble thrown into a pond. It only takes
Oh,
one to create the ripple of happiness.
and that's true. It's true. Like positive people affect other people. And positive people, it changes the way that you make decisions, the way you work. I mean, I'm not saying that this is all baloney, but I want some deeper stuff.
Happiness is so contagious and infectious that one positive person can spread happiness to more than 1,000 people. That means all it takes to create change on a local, regional, state, country, global scale is one person.
Okay. I'm done with the video. I don't really, well,
And research shows that just by spreading happiness, you actually become happier. You can choose happiness and choose to share it.
this is like, and buy our happiness pill for 3 easy payments of $39.99. And if you call within the next 5 minutes, we'll take off one of those payments.
Can be the catalyst to spread it directly and indirectly.
Yeah.
Are you that one?
Yeah, I am.
It starts with you, yet it's bigger than you. Happiness is
She's
bold.
happy.
It is courageous, audacious, and challenging. You have the power to choose happiness.
What
and
is this?
spread it. Join the movement. Share the
Join the movement?
Be the one who makes the difference.
What is the purpose of this video? All right. I'm watching these for the first time with you. I didn't plan. I did, look up some things and watch the first few seconds, but I mean, I can go, there's a few other videos that I found. There's this interesting video from George Lucas, the Star Wars man. He actually he talks about, okay, that we'll save that if we get to it. But he talks about what is happiness. He was a part of where is it? He was part of like some sort of, like 5-6 years ago. He was a part of or maybe he still is, but he was giving speeches about I can't find. I saw the name of the project. Oh, Project Happiness. Project Happiness. How original. And so he talked about that. But hello, if you're still here. Thank you for staying. So in the video that I did about Euphoria, I'm not promoting it, but if you want to go see it, that'd be great. So I learned about happiness in the context of religion. and it was based upon the teaching, the philosophy of Aristotle. And I found this good video about that, and I thought maybe we'd look at a little bit of it just to get the basic idea, and then talk about hedonism, and the pursuit of happiness. So we'll look at that, but I kind of still agree with Aristotle. I mean, I really don't have any other thing that is presenting me with a very cohesive perspective. But
we call it teleology, the study of things in terms of their purpose or ends. And Aristotle says to us, look at every action, every craft, every decision, every pursuit, every line of inquiry. All of those actions we undertake in the pursuit of some good.
So if no one has ever had classes of philosophy, it can get very abstract and kind of mind numbing. So if you experience that, you're not alone. It happens to the best of us. But yeah, so we do things for some good. So I'm working in order to make money. I'm making money in order to buy the things that I need to survive: food, shelter, all of that. Like there's some good. Or why would I even work? If I worked for nothing, if I worked and it did nothing for me, it didn't even give me a skill. Like if you do like an internship or something. But if you just did something for nothing, then why the heck are you doing it? Why would you even want to do it? We have that perspective, even if we're not aware of that's the reason, or we're not aware to call it that's the good of my decision. It's just kind of common sense. Sometimes that good is not a actual good for us. So, for example, when someone chooses drugs in order to feel good, in order to be high and to feel, to escape, to like as a coping mechanism or whatever, that seems like a good for that particular person because it is good to feel pleasure, and we want to feel pleasure. We want to feel that euphoria. So people make a decision to do drugs for that, because if drugs was only bad, if it was only the bad consequences and there was no high, there was no benefit, no one would do drugs. It doesn't make sense. But we kind of blind ourselves to all of those other aspects because we only see the good aspect, which, as it turns out, is not good. I mean, obviously, some drugs have a benefit. I'm not talking about that, because then the good is actually a good for us. Anyway.
So this is to say that everything you do, everything we do because we are pursuing some goal, some good, some end for which we do the thing. For example, I might exercise so that I can be healthy or fit. If I'm a carpenter, the goal of carpentry is the production of houses or furniture.
Yeah, everything.
Prosperity, education, security, pleasure, amusement, rest, honor, fame.
Those are goods. We do things for those types of ideas. We go to school to receive an education. Blah 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 blah.
All of these are goods, and all of our actions, every single one, is aimed at achieving or acquiring some good, some choice-worthy end. But here's where things get interesting. Aristotle.
Does anyone else miss going to school? Sometimes I miss just sitting there and just taking notes and just receiving information, and just that's your only concern in life, is just learning. Why is it that at the time when we actually do go to school, we don't see it, we don't appreciate it for what it is. And then afterwards, we realize that, and it's not that I'm like running away from my adult responsibilities or anything, but to just learn, that's such a great feeling, a great state to be in.
Aristotle asks, well, why do we pursue those ends? Why do we want health, education, money, fame, nice furniture, clothes? What is the end for which we pursue all of these other ends? Aristotle says we do all of these things. We do everything in order to be happy.
Oh, so this is where I get my perspective from. This idea that everything, there's a reason behind everything. And it just goes on and on and on, but ultimately that the ultimate reason that gives reason to all the other things is happiness. So I'm taking, it's like to summit the mountain, that's the ultimate goal. Well, I'm going to take, if that's my ultimate goal right now, I'm going to take one step forward and then the next step and then the next step and then the next step. And then eventually I'll reach the goal. So that's what I was saying before, that there was this idea that happiness is like the ultimate goal. It's not something really that you can attain now. At least not the happiness that counts. That was kind of my assessment of the situation.
Just think about this for a second. Why are you watching this video? Good question. Quiet, you. So why are you watching this video?
I've made some of those types of jokes and videos, but they're really cringy, and I'm sorry for anyone who's watched a video and they've cringed. I'll try not to make videos like that again, but I have made jokes like that.
You're watching it because you want to learn something about Aristotle. Well, why do you want to learn something about Aristotle? Maybe you're trying to do well in a particular course because you want a good grade. Because you want to do well in school. Maybe you want to graduate from university. Why do you want to graduate from university? Well, maybe I want to do that to get a job. Why do you want a good job? To make money. Why do you want to make money? So you can buy stuff, buy a house, go places, travel. Why do you want those things? Because I think those things will make me happy.
Yeah. And people stop there. Money and buying things.
Exactly, because you want to be happy. Aristotle thinks we can understand all of our activities in this way. Every decision we make, every choice we make, every action we...
Maria, I'm a Ravenclaw too. That's hilarious. I thought that I was when I took the test, I was like, I'm probably going to be stuck in Slytherin or something like that. Um, and I was put in Ravenclaw, which I still don't feel like is for me, but that's what they put me in.
we undertake, we do because we think it will lead us to happiness. Maybe you brush your teeth because you don't want to have bad breath. And you don't want to have bad breath because you want to be able to talk to your friends and coworkers. You don't want
All right, we don't want more.
Wait a second. Hold on. This can't be right. Because if Aristotle, if everything I do, if all of my earthly endeavors are directed towards happiness, if every decision, every action in my life I do in order to be happy, why am I so unhappy? This is an interesting question. And the answer,
Because you didn't you didn't choose to be positive. That's why. You just have to choose to be positive. You have to choose happiness.
is somewhat troubling. So it seems that just because we do everything in order to be happy doesn't mean that we are guaranteed happiness. And
That's why I love philosophy, and especially I connected with Aristotle, probably because of the religion thing, but I still kind of connect with it. Maybe it's like kind of a safe place for me. I feel at home with those ideas. But it's like when you read something that describes your own experience, it's like, oh, this makes sense. And that's such a good feeling.
so the implication here is that there are some activities, some actions, some decisions, some lines of inquiry that will lead to happiness, and there are others that will not. There are some choices, some decisions that are better than others. This leads us to an uncomfortable insight. You can be wrong about what makes you happy.
That's what I was saying before. Apparent happiness, something that appears to be happy to lead to happiness, but in fact does not.
This makes a lot of students and readers of Aristotle very uncomfortable. Quit trying to tell me how to live my life,
All right,
Aristotle.
I'm done with the jokes. Human beings often want things that ultimately
Human
make them.
beings often want things that ultimately make them unhappy. We can make mistakes. We can be wrong about what will make us happy. Now, this means that what makes you happy as a human being is not entirely up to you. Sure, some things may be open to choice. How do you spend your free time? Do you like watching movies or playing golf or going to concerts? Those things might be up to you. But for Aristotle, many of the fundamental things, the most important things, are not subject to choice.
I I'm so comfortable with that idea that some things, like, I have it things don't 100% depend on me to figure it out. Like, I don't want to have to rediscover the wheel. You know what I mean? I don't want to have to be put in a position where I have to figure out what the ultimate happiness is, and what, like, all these huge big ticket item type questions. Like, I don't want to have to figure out all of this, because it's like we live in a society and there's a history, and we build upon the people that came before us, and we expand with the knowledge, and we have all these building blocks. I'm not like the first person to ever exist in the world and the first person to ever be put in this type of situation and to have these thoughts. So what did those other people say? What were their conclusions, and trying to build upon that, and not, and it's like almost a way of um fighting the idea of, you are self determined, you determine what makes you happy, you decide, and it's like, I understand that there's choices, but I mean, if there's something out there that's going to, like, if I'm choosing things that are ultimately not going to make me happy, because I was told that that everything depends on my choice, but I just happen to not choose the right thing because I'm only looking at myself and self actualizing 100% myself, then that seems counterproductive. Like, if there is something objective out there, an idea, a goal that will help guide me. I mean, that's why we go to school, because we have our teachers who impart knowledge to us that we didn't have. Are they enclosing my mind? Well, maybe they are enclosing my mind, and not letting me breathe. There are educators that do that, but it should be like a way of guidance instead of force. But yeah, I think something like that.
You don't so much decide what will make you happy as much as you learn what will make you happy. Now, Aristotle is not saying there is only one way to live. He would, of course, recognize there are people who want to be doctors and people who want to be painters. There are people who want to live in big cities and there are people who want to live in the country. There are all kinds of different people. And there are different things that will make those people happy. That is true. But Aristotle believes that in certain respects, certain fundamental respects, we are the same. All of
And that makes sense. We're all human beings.
us. City dwellers, country dwellers, doctors, painters, whoever. So in the same way certain things make us all sick and certain things make us all healthy, certain things make us all happy, and certain things make us all unhappy.
Then that makes sense. It's like there's different ways to work out, right? If health is your goal, there's different ways to work out. But there's still very fundamental elements to that are the same for everyone. There's certain principles that are going to guide the actions of a person who is working out in order to reach a healthy state of being. And we can't deny that. And imagine somebody, like if I want to learn about the best way to work out for me, that's going to help me reach a goal of healthy, which is a similar state for everyone, which isn't exactly the same, but it's in a certain parameter. I'm not just going to say like, all right, working out means for me to sit in my bed all day or something like that. Like I'm going to have to discover what actions that actually means. Like no, there's an idea. Health means these types of things in general. So okay, so in order to reach that, sleeping in my bed all the time, staying in my bed all the time isn't going to be conducive to reach that goal. So let me look at people who are professionals and what they say. Oh, okay, there's different methods, there's different, but the goal is the same, and some are more efficient than others depending on who I am, depending if they're just looking to make an extra buck and they really don't know what they're talking about, but that's a different story. But does that make sense? That seems to make sense to me. So why not in those things like health or money, like you work, you do a job in exchange for money. That seems like a very general thing that like that's a general phenomenon that happens for everyone who works and gets money. And there's really no way around that. There's ways around that, but in general, we can work in many different types of ways, but that's the reality. So in those aspects, if that's how it is, why not in happiness itself? Why doesn't happiness have certain guidelines, certain features that are common through all people, all different types of people? That makes sense.
So the question that confronts us then is, what actions will actually lead to happiness? And Aristotle will spend the rest of the Nicomachean Ethics working this out. But essentially, Aristotle says we use our reason to think about the human goods. And remember, there's all sorts of human goods. For example, education, shelter, delicious cheeseburgers. All of those things are goods. They're things you might want. And as we consider those human goods,
because Aristotle separated humans from other animals, from any other sorts of beings, because we have reason, we have the capacity to think, to understand, to recognize that we have the ability to recognize goals and to act upon them and figure out how to reach them. When other animals, they act upon instinct. Like they don't really understand what they're doing, but they know to do it. Like they feel hunger, they go get food to relieve themselves of that hunger. It's like they're just following. Of course, they can choose, a lion can choose this gazelle or that gazelle, or you know what I mean? But it's like they're following their instincts. They're not like, I'm feeling hungry. Now, they're not like processing, or they're not like rationalizing what they're doing. They're just bam, bam, bam.
we think about the actions that are necessary to acquire them or experience them. And you can then maybe see how mistakes begin to enter the equation. What if we think that cheeseburgers are a superior good to shelter, and so we spend all of our time and money trying to acquire more and more cheeseburgers? Now, obviously, that's an absurd example, but you can think of more commonsensical ones, like what if you think sex is more important than friendship? Or if you think playing hockey with your friends is more important than spending time with your children? We can make mistakes about what the best.
Doesn't this make sense? I mean, it just seems to be what experience shows. And it's amazing how a pagan ancient philosopher, came up with these about humans. And even now, 2,000 years later, we're still, this is just our reality.
Goods are, or what actions are necessary to acquire those goods. And again, Aristotle believes the highest human good The thing we want more than anything else is happiness. And he's going to argue, he's going to try to persuade us that the actions, the activities that most consistently lead us to happiness are acts of virtue.
Now, virtue has a lot of implications for me and for anyone else who has been to church. Virtue um, is something that we're taught and we're told to um, pursue, to have virtues. Um, so when I see that word, it always like it always is like a warning sign. Not a warning sign, but like I have all these ideas that come to me. Aristotle is awesome. Yes.
And Aristotle will make the argument that being good at being a person means being a good person. Aristotle.
Being good at being a person means being a good person. Oh. This is kind of where I mean, obviously Aristotle was pagan, but I remember my thought process was being a good Catholic, being a good child of God means that I'm doing what I'm supposed to be. Like it's hard to say good. I'm a good person. I'm like to make that type of statement about myself. It's like if I'm doing what I'm supposed to do, then I'm doing what I'm supposed to do. Like there really wasn't anything like that. I don't know. Those are the ideas that come to my head when I see this. But being good at being a person means being a good person. Hmm.
Person. Aristotle is going to say that living well, being a good person, is what makes you happy. And to be a good person, you need to possess specific virtues. You need to act in certain ways. All of this means that happiness, for Aristotle, depends on ethical or moral action.
This makes sense. The the people that in my life and the people that I've come across who are truly good people, they have in various degrees and various manifestations, they have similar qualities. And the people that I respect have those similar qualities. And but I would say they are good people. And I would say that they are more happy than other people because of the way that they live their life. And I would say for me, looking at the principles, which moral or ethical principles that they base their life upon, um, is the source of that. So I'm agreeing so far with all of this still. After all these years outside in the pagan world as an apostate, I'm still getting this because I see people who are doing the things that the world that society is telling them that will make them happy with the money, with the cars, with the women, with the you know multiple partners and the whatever it is, which even those good people that I would consider good, they have too in various degrees, but I think those elements are more in a proper balance in their life. Like they're not the principal thing that they're going after. Money, like I said before, is something that's necessary. Having more than enough gives you a certain peace of mind, of course. Um, but that's not their principal aim in life.
This means that doing bad things will make you unhappy. That's Aristotle's argument. Aristotle tends to emphasize our character over our conditions. Now, he does understand that people's characters and situations vary. He understands, for example, that people have different tastes, strengths, and weaknesses. And he will emphasize throughout the Nicomachean Ethics that different people may need to act differently in different situations. For example, going to a party with your friends might be a good decision on a Friday night. It might make you happy. But if you go to a party in the middle of a work day and consequently lose your job, that will not make you happy. In the same vein,
That makes sense. These are all things that are just like basic, but sometimes it's good to kind of just break it down to fundamental ideas, because it's easy in those type of examples to know, okay, good, bad, all that, but in those simple examples you can understand certain general principles that can help you make harder and more complex decisions.
being generous and buying dinner for your friends might be a virtuous thing to do, but not if it means you have no money left over to feed your family or pay your rent. One thing we might want to do, and it's something Aristotle does himself, is think a bit more about these conditions. So, what if my own poverty prevents me from being generous? What if my educational system has failed me? What if the constraints of necessity make it impossible for me to cultivate virtue or do good deeds? You might think, well, what if I'm born into poverty? What if I'm born into an unjust regime? Or
Yes, this is important. I think people are, I mean, they have real situations that are difficult, difficult conditions that are actual, that are real, and other ones that are artificial, like just believing that they're the victims of whatever outside of themselves, um, that doesn't actually exist. But this is an important point, I think.
my family is dysfunctional? What if some terrible fate befalls me, Aristotle? Couldn't there be all sorts of things that might prevent me from developing the virtues or undertaking the actions necessary to be a happy human being? Aristotle's actually pretty clear eyed about this, and his answer would be yes. Those things, the conditions of your birth, these accidental factors beyond your control, could be real impediments to your happiness.
That seems more human and realistic and logical than whoever you are, just choose positivity. Just be happy. Choose happiness. That will make you happier. That seems more utopic. Utopic? Is that a word? That seems more like we're living in a fantasy world. And what Aristotle, his idea of, well, actually, if you have a miserable conditions and life is really difficult, then yeah, that might actually be an obstacle for you being happy. That seems like more in line with our experiences day to day.
Is both true and hard. But Aristotle is going to argue that, except in the most extreme cases, happiness is mostly under your control. Another objection that's often mounted against Aristotle is, again, well, who says what's good? What's good behavior? What's virtue? How do you know, Aristotle? This is a very common objection, that it's impossible to say.
I'm sorry. My impressions. Um, yeah, my unrealistic dumb person impression.
What's good or bad. But Aristotle
Who is Aristotle to tell me what's good for me? You can't tell me what makes me happy. Aristotle's just an old patriarchal white male. Just tells me he's from a system that's okay. I'm done.
doesn't believe this. And in fact, neither do you. You don't believe this. Be honest with yourself. You have an account of what you think a good human life is, what people ought to do, and what people ought not to do.
It would be a good exercise to try to generalize the qualities of a good person, what characteristics they have, and then use that as like a structure and be able to see where maybe there's things that we can improve on. That's a good. I think that's a good exercise to do, because honestly, I'm not down with the idea that we're perfect just the way we are. It's like, well, you know, looking back at myself 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, I see noticeable changes in myself. And thank God that I'm not that person anymore. I'm so happy that I have gone through things in my life and overcome them and gained certain better habits in my life, got rid of some. It's like life is that journey that like there's always hope of turning the corner and improving on ourselves with work, obviously with hard work, but that's part of life. And to say you're perfect just the way you are, like, i'm sorry I'm sorry, but I'm just gonna say it. The whole movement that is still very, very popular, even though COVID, I almost said it. The vid, the past 2 years have shown us that there are consequences, but the idea that you know being healthy, being a certain body mass, having working out, those type of things are actually toxic for certain people. It triggers certain people because it shows people who are over that um, range, I guess you could say, uh, that they need to improve, that they need to do work on themselves to not be in that state anymore. So the whole fat acceptance movement, it doesn't make much sense to me. I think that beauty standards, that's a subject that we can talk about. What is portrayed as beautiful, as perfect, as all of that. Okay, that's a whole other subject. That just because we criticize certain standards doesn't mean that the correct solution is to then open the door and say everyone is at a good, everyone is beautiful, everyone is this, everyone is that. It's like, for me, if someone told me like okay, for tattooing, let's do that. So that's a skill that I have, but I'm still a beginner in a lot of ways. I still need to learn a lot of fundamentals in that. But imagine someone came up to me and said, "You're a perfect tattoo artist. You are, you everything that you do. When I see you tattoo and when I see the finished product, I am just overwhelmed by the beauty of that tattoo." Because I'm somebody who hates when people lie to me, but also I'm aware of my own skill and my own limitations, and that I am far from perfect. I've got a good beginning. I've made some steps in the right direction, but I'm definitely nowhere near perfect as I am. I would hate for someone to tell me that. I would not respect the person who told me that, even if they didn't want me to feel bad. Even if they, you know, imagine a teacher who tells you that you're just great. You're like in writing, in creative writing, and they read they're like, "Oh my gosh, this story is just the best. It is so." And then you hear them saying that to everyone. Every this is the best story. This perfect story, just the way it is. This is everything that they're saying loses meaning. Everything. The idea of good, perfect, enough, all that stuff, because it's being applied without any sort of um, structure in all these circumstances, it loses its meaning. So what? Because I wrote something, you're afraid that I'm going to feel bad because you're saying that I need to stop using the word I all the time. I did this, I did that. That I need to use proper punctuation. Like, that's going to make me feel bad. So you're just going to tell me that I'm perfect. A prize for everyone devalues the value of the prize. Yes. But it doesn't mean anything. It's all to make people feel good. But I wouldn't feel good if someone said I'm a perfect tattoo artist. I wouldn't feel good because I know the truth. I see the reality. I live with the reality. I see the product. So it's like, for people who are not in the best health condition, not in the healthiest state of being in their body, that's something that they have to live with. And believe me, just because you're thin too doesn't mean that you're healthy. So I'm talking about healthy compared to unhealthy. Does that mean that we have to shame people? Well, shame loses its meaning too, because look at how they consider shaming. Any sort of criticism, even from a doctor, who says, ma'am or sir, I think, you're at a weight where you're going to start having complications for your health. A doctor whose purpose is to help you get healthy and remain healthy or whatever. That's considered shaming. And that's put on the same level as someone saying, "You're fat." In my mind, they seem like two totally different circumstances. So I see these types of movements and things, and it's like, we just want people to feel happy and not feel, like, not hate themselves. And it's like, of course we don't want people to hate themselves. But we also don't want people to just create an artificial reality around themselves so they don't feel bad. Because there's certain things you can't get away from. Like, I'm not in the best of shape. I'm thin, but that doesn't mean I'm like in the best shape that I've been in my life. I'm getting back. I ran today for the first time in like a long time. I'm trying to get back to it, but like I feel motivated to work out, to eat healthier, not because of my weight, but because I feel bad. I feel the consequences of my decision not to focus on my health. So am I just gonna like close my eyes, shove something in my ears, and like create this VR like fantasy world, and just in this world where what the reality is doesn't really exist? Like, that doesn't make sense. The fat acceptance body positivity movement is super sketchy. It's not a good idea to let someone remain as they are if they are in a bad place mentally, physically. Yeah, mentally too. That's a good point. It's not just physical health. And it's not really helping them. It's not. You feel bad because you don't want them to feel bad. But instead of actually giving them the tools and the means to feel good, you try to what? Like, what is really happening? Makes me think of that doctor on My 600-Pound Life. He's very blunt with his patients. Does that show still go on now? Many of them need someone to just say it how it is. He's not mean, but he doesn't tolerate BS. That's like the Biggest Loser. That one, my mom loved that show. Um, I don't know. I just think that like there's a good way to help people and there's a bad way. And I see what's happening in the world and a lot of these movements and it's like I see kind of where they're coming from. Like I understand like where the idea came of the necessity of a movement, but why is it that most of the time they take the worst, sometimes even the path that's going to lead to a worse situation down the road? Why is that? All the time. All the time. Let's finish this.
The clearest evidence that you have such an account is how you live your life. How you choose to live is evidence of how you think a person ought to live.
That is so true. If you like the proof is in the pudding type of thing, like no, that's not right. Actions speak louder than words. It's like how you actually think a person should live is going to be manifested in the way that you're living. That's huge.
The things you do implicitly reveal what you think will make a person happy. Now, maybe you might counter, well, I have an account of how I should live my life, what I think will make me happy. But I don't think other people have to live this way.
What do you think the answer will be to that? What is he going to say is the answer to that?
But it's probably the case that you do think a lot of your views are generalizable. For example, you give people advice, right? Isn't that a version of telling people how to live their lives? You criticize people for.
Yeah, that's so true. We advise people, like our friends that come up, what should I do? You know, my boyfriend, he told me this and I don't know what to do. And you should do this. So you really do think that other people should act a certain way, that there is a universal perspective. It's not just my life is my life and you can't tell me what to do type of thing. But there is a more general way of doing that.
For their bad actions, you judge people for their bad actions, you admire certain people, you applaud others. You believe there are better and worse ways to live. Again, doesn't mean everybody needs to live exactly the same way, but a human being is not an infinitely flexible thing. We need to breathe oxygen, we need to drink water.
We have limitations. We have limitations. That's not a very common idea. That's like almost an insult to people nowadays, that there's certain things that limit us as people. And that's scary. People don't like to feel trapped. For me, recognizing the limitations and not only acknowledging it but living within those parameters, that gives me a sense of security. It's like when you're driving across the bridge and there's the guardrails on the either side. It's like, obviously, I'm not going to use the guardrails to get across, but knowing that they're there, knowing that they're what their purpose is, that makes me feel more secure that I'm in the road. And then going off the bridge, well, that's we know where that what the result of that is.
If you lock a human being in a cell for most of its adult life and poke it with needles and torment it with hyenas, that human being is not going to be happy. That's not a happy life. Needles and hyenas. Nobody wants that. If you want more proof that you don't believe this, think about a mistake you've made. There was a time in your life when you thought eating that.
I never make mistakes. Everything is a positive growth experience.
Extra piece of pizza, or dating that person, or getting drunk instead of studying, or taking that job, or.
It sounds like he's projecting. Mm.
telling a lie was going to make you happy, and you made a mistake. And you think about it now. You have regrets because you know you made a mistake.
That's an interesting thing that I've noticed too. I know I'm going on and on and on and on and on. We have like 2 hours here, but a lot of the people that have left religion, they they talk about the guilt that comes from religion, right? And it's really bad. But for some reason, they extend that the guilt that they had from religion specifically, they extend that into the feeling of guilt in general. Like anytime I feel guilty for anything, that's from my past. That's wrong. I It's not real. It's not a good thing. It's something I need to get rid of. I need to get rid of guilt. And I don't know, from my perspective, because I'm the one with the microphone, but I think that guilt is actually a good thing. It teaches us, it helps guide us, it helps keep us on track. Because if we never felt guilt or remorse for our actions, then how would we know that our actions are necessarily off track? Like, because we've decided to live a certain way, to do certain things, and then like, okay, I'm gonna be healthy, and then for the first week of being healthy, I'm eating pizza every day. It's like I'm not really following my principles. I'm not following the type of behaviors that I really want to. And that feeling of guilt is like it's like you can't avoid it, and it's helping. Goodbye, Maria. Thank you for coming. Um, it helps us. It helps us know where we are. It's like a kind of a a tap on the back, like that action wasn't, remember you're gonna do this and you didn't, so
You can look back and recognize it was possible to make a better choice.
and you can look back and say, okay, I had the choice to eat the pizza or eat a salad, and I chose to eat the pizza. And you can assess that decision, what motivated you, and then prepare yourself for the next time you have that type of decision.
That would have made you happier. Aristotle believes in us, thinks that we can figure out, using our reason, what the right course of action is, or at least what a better course of action is and what a worse course of action is.
Because that's something we shouldn't pressure ourselves into thinking. Like, I always have to do the best thing. I always have to know what God wants me to do, and anything less than that is unacceptable. Um, it's like I said, it's a process. We're trying to make better and better decisions, have better and better habits, which make those decisions, that this decision making process, easier the more we do it. That's part of it. And to assess our decisions, to examine our actions, it actually helps us make better decisions in the future. Of course, from my past experiences with examination, that solidified how horrible I was as a person, but that's not what I'm talking about here.
We can reason about what we ought to do in any given situation, and we can work it out. We can figure out the best way to act in order to be happy. So you have the capacity as a human being to think about your choices and to choose the course of action that is most likely to lead you to happiness. This is both profoundly exciting and deeply disturbing because it suggests that happiness is to a large degree under our control, and that
Well, that's true. I think we knew that.
we are responsible for our own lives. Well, that's the end.
Okay, thank you. All right. I've been going for 2 hours. So, be happy. I want to continue this. I find it interesting, and um, I mean, this is stuff that I do alone. So I'll just bring you along the ride, investigating and reading articles and talking about it and hearing what everyone has to say. Um, I think that's a good thing. We should always be learning and always trying to clarify our ideas on things, and especially the big topic questions. For me, that helps solidify other smaller aspects of my life, not as important aspects of my life. So anyway, thank you all for coming, and I'll see you next time. Please like and subscribe. Thank you for coming, Sam.